Hello, everybody. Well, folks are trickling in. We'll wait a minute. We'll get started in a minute. All right, I think we can get started. Hello, everybody. Thank you for taking the time to join us today, and welcome to the webinar. We'll be talking about the future of QA automation, from posture assessment to AI-driven testing. My name is Richie Yu. I'm a senior strategist from Katalon. I'll be your moderator today. Over the next hour or so, we'll explore how AI is changing software quality, moving from curiosity to experimentation to real business results. Joining with me today are two fantastic speakers. Shiladitya Chaudhury, SVP Consulting Services at QualityKiosk, who's leading the strategy and helps organizations design AI-led roadmap, and Alex Martin, VP of Strategy at Katalon, will show us how these ideas come alive in the Katalon platform. Let's get started. Shiladitya, let's start at the top.
Yep.
Yeah, AI has captured the industry's imagination. What are you seeing in the field today?
Well, first of all, thanks, Richie, for giving a wonderful introduction of all of us out here. So I have Alex with me here. So Alex, good to get you back again.
Yeah, same, Sheila.
Yep. So, Richie, I guess your first question was like, what do we see in the industry when we talk in terms of AI? Because AI is such a ubiquitous word that everybody's talking about it and everybody is kind of experimenting with it. Like if you would have asked me the question 6 months back or a year back, I would say there is a lot of experimentations that is happening in the AI field. And however, if you ask me today, I would not say that there's a lot of experimentations. The experimentations era is still going, but there are areas that people have started seeing the business impact. And when we are speaking with multiple customers, like across the globe, when we are traveling and speaking with different CIOs and CTOs, what do we hear? And that's something that I wanted to share with you and the folks out here in the webinar. There is a paradigm shift that what we observe. Like when we talk about it, what's the kind of a shift that we look at it? What's the kind of an area? Earlier, it was more in terms of curiosity, in terms of what AI can do for me, for what AI can do for my business, what areas it can influence and improve. However, now it has moved from curiosity to impact. And these are the three areas or few areas that I would say that we are seeing it. Now, obviously, they are adopting AI, starting to realize business, starting to see the business impact outcome of it. That's one area that what we see. The second area is in terms of how people have started looking beyond quality. Now, earlier days, quality used to be the sacrosanct that I want some quality results, quality software, quality applications, quality websites, and so on and so forth. Nowadays, it's not quality is like hygiene, I would say. Quality is given. Now, what they're talking about, how reliable is my platform? Reliability is I would say, the superset of quality. The reason why we say it's a superset of quality is quality. You can have a day 1 quality, day 0 quality, day 5 quality. Reliability is over a period of time. You have to have consistency. You have to have predictability on an ongoing basis. And that's what the reliability is all about. So that's the difference paradigm that what we see. The third area that what we also observe is the reliability of AI. Most of the organizations in today's world have experimented and are using some AI platform here and there, be it in terms of their contact center, be it in terms of their primary, the corporate portals, the corporate websites, the customer facing application, so and so. And there are some AI elements into it. Unlike a traditional software, which is predominantly rule based, it's a fixed rule. You will have a linear navigation through point A to point Z. AI, it's always evolving. It's a predictability model. It's kind of all the time kind of changing. So how do you ensure that the reliability of AI, what it was on the day of launch, it has not hallucinated, it has not pivoted to something else? How do you make sure it works within the guardrails of what it is supposed to do? And that's what the reliability of AI people are talking about it and asking us. I would say a significant amount of conversation that we are having is in terms of the reliability of AI, that what we see. The next few elements is, again, how do we, there's a very strong tendency that we see that people have started moving away from just talking about a platform kind of a thing, but taking AI outside into the world. When I say taking outside into the world, in terms of the edge AI capabilities. When I talk of edge AI, we are talking in terms of your IoT devices, your driverless cars, your so many different gadgets in the kind of far-flung areas where you have undersea robots and undersea cables, where there are certain IoT devices which are, I would say, they're quite independent, quite agnostic, and driving those kind of qualities. So what kind of a quality improvements you can do that? And last but not the least, though AI is trying to drive those capabilities and actions, at the same time, we're still trying to keep it in terms of there is a human in the loop, that what they're talking about it. Okay, AI is going to assist me, AI is going to drive those outcomes, but at the same time, the final decision, the final approval, the final reviewing has to be done by somebody who is human, so that there's a human touch there. There is a kind of a reviewer mechanism there. So AI has moved more into a doer role, while the reviewer still remains human. So these are the top 5 trends, I would say, that we've been seeing at a macro level, how the industry is evolving. And I'm pretty sure if we speak after 6 months, if 9 months, we will have different use cases that we observe. I hope that's answers to an extent, Richie, the questions that you asked.
Yeah, no, that's great. I think that's a great overview of the broader landscape. I think maybe let's narrow the lens a little bit. I think a lot of our friends today are interested in how this impacts their software engineering and their testing.
Yeah, it's a good point. So software industry is no alien to AI. This was one of the first industry where AI really started making an impact, be it in terms of how you are developing your code, what kind of a scripts you're writing, what kind of insights that you're getting. So that's something that definitely is being leveraged with all the co-pilots and clouds of the world that came up. That this was one of the first industry that we've been moving. And there are 2 different distinct areas that people are working in. Some who have been still experimenting, and there are some smart movers, or I would say the early movers. They have started seeing certain benefits, and I'm just going to clock out some of those names and some of the results that what we've been seeing. This is quite interesting, because doing it right with AI the first time around, it's a hard challenge, it's a difficult challenge, but many people are really cracking that, I would say, the jackpot, or the cracking that elements out of it. So if what McKinsey is talking about in terms of the cost savings that AI is bringing in through predictability, through faster turnaround time, efficiency, be it on the BCG side of it, in terms of the ROI that it is driving, which is also related to the cost and the efficiency and the productivity that it is gaining, or be it in terms of what IBM Institute or the Nest Digital Engineering, these guys are talking about it in terms of the benefits of AI that is bringing. Closer to home, I see right now, most of the organizations, most of the people that we are speaking with and working with, they have, I don't see any organization which are saying that we don't work with AI on any of the value stream that we are working, be it on the development side, be it on the quality side, be it on the overall reliability side of it. AI is there everywhere. Some are doing it at a lesser volume, and some have kind of really adopted and kind of getting those benefits that what we have been seeing. So that's a kind of a very interesting pivot point that I think we are standing right. It will move into different directions, but we know the results or the outcomes of those directions would be.
Yeah, I know this is, sorry, go ahead.
Yep. Now, I think hope this kind of gives you the answers that you were looking for, because as I said, it's the first industry that's getting impacted and getting impacted in the right way.
Yeah, this is very interesting. Maybe can we shift to, if you're one of the leaders in the call today, they might be interested in what can they do to get going with this if they haven't started already. How would you help them build an adoption roadmap for this?
Yep. So as I said, like AI is a area where you have to do right from the first time in itself, because people might still think as an expensive experimentation. So we have to kind of really do it well. And to do it well is not just to jump in the ocean and start learning to swim, but you need to really choose the battlefield that you are going to fight. And that's the place where we are working with multiple multiple partners out here and multiple customers that we are speaking with. And we try to kind of make sure that the foundations goes well. We choose which area AI can give them an immediate impact, areas where it can have a long-term impact, and what's the kind of a value that they can expect. So just to give a kind of a thing, so what we want to do is, when we work with different customers, we want to assess where they are, what are the different areas that they're working with AI or non-AI, or kind of in a traditional way, assess where you are, the as is state, what's the kind of a thing, what's the problem, what's the challenge, what's the improvement they want to see, what's the kind of a roadmap or the North Pole that they want to move, and then look at it, okay, what can I use, which area AI really makes sense, which area AI has a maturity today, which can give a benefit today, and which areas there can be a potential for tomorrow. And that's the way we kind of drive it. And of course, when we are talking of AI, I'm not talking of AI in silos. There has to be a lot of different elements that needs to work on. When we say a lot of different elements, it's just not using AI just as a tool. Of course, AI is a tool and you will be working on it, but you have to kind of redesign the processes as well. You have to redesign the structure as well, and you have to start leveraging the AI around those different workflows and the methodologies that you have created. So what we typically do, based on these kind of organizations, based on this kind of architecture, what we use from a quality perspective, there are certain industry benchmarks, whether it's the TMMI side of it or the process side of it, the CMMI side of it, because the entire reliability or quality that we are talking about it is an amalgamations of the processes, the practices, the methodologies that you use, and of course, how you can be more efficient, be it in your automation or be it in your test design. So how do we kind of look across all these different elements in different stages, identify the potential impact areas, and then drive those outcomes out of it? And that's what we are trying to do when we kind of do those benchmarking, identify the areas where AI can make an immediate impact, and then drive across those different areas as we move along. So that's the key area, that's the key impact that what we are trying to drive as we move along in this journey. So that's, I wanted to kind of share. It's not a kind of a siloed approach. It's not a kind of a one-off approach that it will come and it will do miracles. There has to be certain groundworks done to make sure that this all things done right. One element, different element also what we wanted to highlight is why AI now and how it is impacting. See, in terms of the entire quality journey or the reliability journey, before AI, it all used to be a person's or a team's kind of, I would say, vision or the kind of a predictable. They used to kind of gamble in terms of how the customer is going to use this application, or what kind of a journey they will be using. If I'm kind of simplifying this thing, if it's an e-commerce website, I'm assuming the customers will log in and do A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. But really, the customer might be doing something really different. How do I take those insights, make my test suite, make my automation suite much more intelligent on a real-time basis? So every day, every week, or whatever the sprint or the release cycles you have, cumulatively, my test suites and my automation suites becomes more intelligent based on how customers are using. So that capability we didn't have before the AI era. You would have the data, you would have the data from different APM platforms and everything, but data is not enough. You have to have insights from data, and we didn't have the muscle power or the machine power, I would say, to do that. And now with AI, those things are really become something to look forward to. And I'm sure Alex would be talking on those lines in terms of how we are leveraging those insights to make something which is much more smarter, much more better. Hope that drives that discussion there.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. I think that brings us to the exciting part, right?
Yeah.
Let's see how Katalon is enabling this transformation. Alex, maybe you can.
Yep. We want to take it forward in terms of how we are driving those, or how we are leveraging AI to make those real decisions and real updates.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Shiladitya, and thank you, Richie. I just want to make a comment before I do that, but it's really interesting what you said in the beginning about how, I don't know, 6 months ago we were all talking about experimentation with AI and really a lot of potential, but no real value yet achieved, and how very quickly that transition to now we're seeing actual impact, right? And I think I've never seen a new technology in the past go from speculation, noise, and excitement to actual value delivery. And I think this is really exciting. And because of that, obviously, we can build a lot of things faster also on our side in terms of capabilities that enable the value, the unlocking of the value for our customers. So yeah, I'll if you Shiladitya, do you mind if I share from my screen here, since I'll have to
absolutely go ahead
to do the demo as well? Yeah, we'll have a demo, everyone. Let me make sure I'm sharing the right screen here. Let's see. Can you guys see my slide?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, cool.
We can.
Perfect. I've got just a couple of slides to set up the actual demo, just so everybody kind of knows where we're coming from. And I'll latch on to what Shiladitya mentioned about reliability, right? It's something, one thing is, hey, something has been released, like he said, and yeah, we see quality in the next few days, but over time, do you really get to a reliable state of that application? And I think that's something that today's technology enables us to do in a much easier and seamless way than in the past. So let me just jump into the next slide, if I can move. Yes. All right. So one thing that we're seeing today that is really preventing organizations from reaching that state of reliability or validating or measuring the reliability of an application, let's say, is really that the way we have been doing testing is not keeping up. It's not evolving as fast as the way development in operations is being done today. And Shiladitya mentioned several examples of those. But if we think about the different activities that we have to do inside of a testing life cycle, if you will, whether you're doing still waterfall or agile, scrum or fall, whether you're embracing DevOps or not, right? You have to go through a certain set of testing activities that are heavily manual, right? If you think about test automation, what's actually running in an automated fashion is just the execution, but you have to manually create the automation, whether you're scripting, whether you're using record and playback or other type of low code or no code solution. You are the human doing the work, creating the artifacts that will be executed in an automated fashion. But everything else is really manual. And when you look at what happens in development and operations and other parts of the SDLC, those are now leaning heavily on assistance from AI. So if we keep thinking about testing in the same way, it will not help us achieve that state of reliability. And I think from us here, at least the three of us, and I'm sure many of you guys in the call that have been doing this for a couple of decades, we know that we've always been, and it's just part of our profession, but we've always been a little averse to exploring new things to use in testing, because obviously we have to, from a testing perspective, we have to make sure that whatever tool or process that we're using gives us the assurance, right, the confidence that the validation and the verification that I'm doing can be trusted, right? With AI, given its inherent nature, being non-deterministic and all, it poses a very new challenge for us in testing. So it's natural that we have up until recently kind of taken more of a passive observer. But like Shiladitya mentioned, in the last 6 months or so, we're seeing really tremendous value being unlocked for the testing lifecycle, which is something that's really exciting for us. So how do we go out? How do we move on from this heavily manual state of testing activities to something that is able to deliver this state where you have all of the different um, uh, parts of the software development lifecycle running, firing all cylinders and running very smoothly as fast as possible. And obviously from a software testing perspective, here at Katalon, we have deployed different specialized agents that will help the individual testing professional do their activities in a much more streamlined and accelerated manner, so that those traditional testing activities that still need to happen, because I mean most of our customers, at least, they operate in highly regulated environments. So obviously you have to have proof that you did, that you ran this test, who ran it, when, under which conditions, which environment, which data was used, et cetera, right? You have regulatory requirements that you have to abide. So you still have to have certain activities in the life cycle, but AI can heavily accelerate that, all with human in the loop, as Shiladitya was saying earlier. So if you think about how it all starts by leveraging AI here, is we from a testing perspective, everything starts from requirements, right? But now if you have crappy requirements, and pardon my language, but if you have very poor requirements that are ambiguous, not clear, not testable, and so on, if you have those bad requirements and you apply AI to it, the output of that, be it a test case or an automated test or test data, whatever you're using AI to produce for you, will be very bad, will not be something acceptable by a human tester. So you have to start thinking about applying AI from the beginning, from really the source of truth, which it has been traditionally requirements. Once you do that, AI can help you clean that up, and then you start now doing test planning with AI agents, and then test design, set up the environment, execute, and report and analyze. But from our perspective, what we've learned is we've helped our customers navigate through this acceleration over the last 6 months or so. With AI, because now there's a lot more code being deployed to production, there's a lot more potential problems, right? There's a lot more features for the end users to experience. If you don't, or if you stop monitoring and assessing quality when you release to production, then you are exposing your application, your organization, to a huge risk, because if the end users that are now being overwhelmed with new capabilities, new user experiences, new workflows, in a much more compressed time frame. So meaning, in a week now, I've got multiple new features in my mobile app, in my mobile banking application, versus in the past, before AI, I would have maybe one update a month, right? So if those new experiences that are being put out by the business much more frequently are now overwhelming the end user, and their experience is not optimal, then you are potentially impacting your brand, losing revenue, negatively, or lowering your NPS score, depending on your business metrics, right? So that's why, from our perspective, we have seen that happening with our customers, and our customers have asked us, well, how can you help? Because we have to keep understanding how the quality is perceived and how reliable that functionality is in production. So that's why we developed this capability to really keep understanding or keep tracking that end user experience in production and showing that to the testing teams and the product owners, the business analysts, the development team, showing that experience in a user journey map, right? And then understanding if certain types of users are dropping in a certain piece of the workflow that they're trying to accomplish, if there's friction in that, if they're encountering errors, right? If there's slowness in a certain step in their workflow. So understanding all of that experience in production, and we're bringing that back into test planning. And the cool thing about it is what the testing team now has in terms of additional powers, additional intel, is to understand, well, here's how people are actually using those new features. Here's how we have tested based on requirements. So all of a sudden you're thinking, well, I know I tested like the requirements, like the business wanted me to test, right? But are the users using the application as the business intended? I think that's the biggest gap that we're starting to see, is that users, because now they have a ton more features, they're going through the application in all kinds of ways that the business did not intend for those things to happen. And that's generating a lot more defects to leak into production. While they become defects, they start as poor experiences, but they eventually become, defects that have to be fixed. So we are able to bring bring that intel back into test planning. And then as we look at the map, we are able to say, hey, here's how we're testing. Here's the map of how we tested in our QA environment. Here's the map of how users are actually going through the application in production. And now let's understand if there are any gaps, right? Let's overlay both. Let's do a diff, if you will, and then expose any flows, any workflows from the users that we're not testing. And then AI automatically generates the tests for those workflows that we have never tested in our QA environment. So bringing that power to to the testing organization, excuse me, is something that is really increasing their potential for assessing, or not potential, increasing their ability to assess the reliability of the application over time. Because remember, every single release that goes to production, and we're able to understand the impact to the end user, if it's getting better, worse, and understanding that and bringing that back is increasing the level of reliability of the organization towards, how successful we're being in helping our end users. So I think this is really something that is exciting, us here at Katalon, because our customers are reporting to us that, man, now I can tell my business, in my management, I'm covering, I'm doing testing based on requirements coverage. I'm doing testing based on end user coverage, what matters to our end users. So I can have this 360-degree view of coverage and be much more confident on the reliability of the software that we're putting out. And obviously that is essentially in the old language, you're shifting left, you're really more focused on prevention of defects, because you're going all the way to requirements and refining those requirements with AI. And then you're also going right, you're shifting right all the way to production to really understand how that quality is being perceived in production, and using that to plug any gaps in your coverage during your QA cycle. So really exciting stuff, and something that we have built the capability to do that. And that capability is called TrueTest. It's an AI augmented solution that turns those true user interactions into those actionable insights in self-maintained automated tests. So one very key thing is that, great that AI generates me the automated tests to reflect what end users are doing, and now I can make sure those experiences don't break in my next release cycle. But what about, I have a new feature or a change request, enhancement request that changes the application. Well, do I have now to update all those automated tests by hand, or even, try to guess what's the impact or not? Of course not. TrueTest in this case will detect the new usage patterns from users, and essentially say, hey, I see there's a new button in this flow, or I see there's a new page in this flow, I see there's a new field in this flow. is this expected? Because when I compare to the previous build of the application, that did not exist. So you, as the human in the loop, is you're there to say, oh yeah, this is expected. It was a change request, and okay, great, boom. Once you say yes, then AI takes care of automating all those automated tests, any objects in the object repository, make sure that all those tests continue to run as they should. But if not, if it's not expected, right? Let's say you say, no, it's not expected. Well, you just found a regression in the application. You just found a defect, right? So the capability is really streamlined to not to create more work for you, but to give you more power so that you can understand what is the level of reliability of those new features or change features in production. So at a high level, that's it. If you're wondering how does that work, I'll just go through these 4 steps and then jump into the demo to actually show you in action. But essentially, TrueTest will capture those user interactions directly in the browser of the individual user. You don't like the user doesn't even know there's anything in there. The user doesn't have to install anything. This is all part of the application that has been instrumented with TrueTest. And then it generates the user journey maps that essentially represent the traffic, right? Represent the different users going through the application. And then it automatically generates and maintains those tests, as I just mentioned, to make sure that those tests are always running and reflecting what end users are actually doing in production. And then based on that, you can identify any gaps in the way you're testing, in the way users are actually using. So from that perspective, you're really not merging, but you're bringing together requirements-based coverage with user-based coverage to make sure you cover what the business wanted and what the users are actually doing, in bringing alignment across the quality spectrum. All right, so let me now jump into the actual demo for you.
Before you jump into the demo, so Alex, if I understood right, it's pretty much moving away from making an educated guess in terms of how the application is going to be used to making a data-driven decisions in terms of how the application is being used and updating the suite accordingly.
Bingo, exactly that. That's a perfect summary. I'm not even going to say anything. I'll leave it at that. That's perfectly defined, Shiladitya. All right, so let me go here to, I'm just going to show, this is our demo app, so you guys understand what you're going to see inside of TrueTest. So this is just like an e-commerce demo app, very simple, where you buy, cell phone stuff. So you select a product, or you can search, but you select a product, select the different characteristics, you add it to the cart, right? That's basic flow of any e-commerce. And then, yeah, you can go to the cart. I already had something in there, and you can start going through the checkout process. So all of these interactions of me clicking and adding and even typing, all of these interactions, pretend I'm the end user and this is a public site. All of these interactions are being captured by TrueTest behind the scenes. I, as a user, did not have to install anything, obviously, because I'm the end user. I don't care about that stuff. And I don't even know there's something, capturing all those actions, right? So the technology is very similar to real user monitoring technology that's been in the market for a long time. So all of that is transparent. All of now you imagine there's hundreds, thousands, potentially millions of users on the application, and they're all doing different things. They're searching, in this case, they're searching for products, they're adding to cart, they're just checking out the details, right? And so on. What we do with that, or what TrueTest does, it shows this user journey map, okay? And what this user journey map is it's a representation of all those different users going through their own different workflows. And it gives you an idea of volume, meaning number of users, not number, but like volume of users that have gone through a certain workflow versus the other workflow. So here you can clearly see each node, let's say, box is a page, is a web page. So you have the home page here, the product details at the top, you have the cart, you have the product category like Apple or Samsung in that example, you have the about page. And then you have the regular like checkout info, shipping address, payment, and the thank you page. Once you've paid for it, it's very polite to say thank you. So one thing that you can see here is there's also different lines that connect those pages, and they have different, thickness. So the thicker lines are the lines that basically denote that there has been a lot of users that have gone through those transitions or through those flows, right? The thinner lines, like the about here, going from home page to the about page, there's always a certain number of people, but very small number of people that go to the about page, right? We rarely do that. But we do, when we go to an e-commerce site, we go for searching, adding to cart, and purchasing if we feel like it. So that's why you see the thicker lines going through that more standard flow in an e-commerce application, and you see the thinner lines covering the less explored areas of the application. So right here, you can already determine, right? Imagine the application, you've seen your user journey map. Right here, you can determine, well, is my testing strategy correct or aligned with this? Meaning, am I covering enough the areas that more users care about, that more users go through as they go into my application? Or maybe do I have too many tests in this product category page here or flow, right? Where I have a very small number of people compared to going from home page to the product detail page. So you can start making decisions here, engaging in adjusting your testing strategy based on how your users actually go through the application. What's more important for the company, right? Because if that workflow that matters to the user fails, then it's very clear by just looking at this that the company will be impacted or the business will be impacted, right? So that's the first, initial piece of intel that you get, and you can immediately action on it by adjusting your testing strategy. Now, obviously, we don't stop there. So you look at this and go, okay, I see there. These are all these are all the journeys together. But what is this on the left side? Well, these are essentially the different flows that the common flows that users go through the application. So let me click on one here for you. So if you go to flow number 4, you can see that is the standard workflow that users go through as they go into an e-commerce site. If you go to this other flow here, that one, verify navigation, about page. So people go from home to about, product category to product details page. Very few people do that. That's an odd flow, right? But you can explore all these different flows, and you can actually see, so as you click on them, they get highlighted, and you can actually expand the details of each flow and understand exactly what people were doing, the steps people were going through, whether the traffic is high, medium, or low. If you have already test cases created to cover that flow, in the actual steps that people excuse me, go through on that flow. So here you navigated to the home page, you clicked on View Mobile Phone, you selected an iPhone 15 Plus, you clicked on the color options, etc., all the way to the end. This is all generated by AI based on what it captured as the users were going through this flow. So you can do that for every single test, right? Very quickly, very easily. And in this case, flow number 5 did not have a test case. That was the flow that was very low traffic, if you will, here, or very odd. If you wanted, you just say, hey, generate me the test for that flow, and off you go. You have the automated test now ready to run. We don't stop there, because this is the initial analysis. Now, if you go to a tabular view, let's just change it here, you can see all those flows, and they are ranked by traffic, meaning obviously you want to pay attention to the higher traffic ones first. And then you have different statuses. And what are the statuses? Remember, I talked about maintenance, right, of the tests. So let's say the previous release to production, you had a certain user journey map representing that. Now there's a new build deployed to production. Now TrueTest captured that new build. We have new, we have a new picture of that user journey map. And then based on the status, it shows, well, stable means I saw this flow before in the previous release and nothing changed. Great. And you even have a test that you created before. Now there's this new thing here, status of new, flow number 6. New means I didn't see that flow before. That's new. Like in the previous build, I didn't see that. Now I see it. And we don't have a test for it, right? And same thing, I've got this stable, new. If there was a flow that was present before and it still exists, but it's changed, maybe there's a new button in the inside of the flow or a new field or whatever, right? It would have shown as changed. And then you get that decision to make, well, is this expected or not, right? And then AI will take care of any updating of the existing automated tests. So you can filter that, depending on your need. And you can say, hey, if, for example, I'll just select here flows without test cases. And then you can say, all right, for these flows that don't have a test case, just generate me all the tests, all the automated tests to cover these flows as part of my testing. And it will generate all these automated tests ready for you to execute as part of the Katalon platform. So this is something tremendously beneficial, as Shiladitya was referring to reliability, because now you are doing your requirements-based testing and you're automating that with Katalon. You are also now making sure that that user experience is not breaking release after release, and you're bringing it all together under a platform that shows you how reliable that application is being perceived by the end user. One last thing I'll cover here is now let's say you have, I talked about the fact that you can compare the tests that you're running as part of your normal testing cycle in QA or staging or even dev or UAT, and compare those tests to how the users are actually using the application in production. And sorry, I speak with my hands a lot, so hopefully it's not too distracting. But so that's how you do it. So you basically will come here, say, hey, production, yeah, use the latest map. Let's compare the testing I'm doing in staging. Let's go with my previous version before it was deployed, and I'll say analyze, right? Very quickly, it basically says, hey, here's the flow that when you compare the production flow with the QA flow, if you will. And I'll say, hey, I don't want to see. I want to see the tests that don't have any tests. I want to see the flows that don't have any tests as well. So just remove the filter there. But what you can do is, you see in blue are the things that are the same, that match. Meaning the things in blue are what we are testing in both QA as well as in production. Now the things in orange, brownish, depending on your screen, let's say orange, are the things that have changed from the previous, from the testing that I'm doing, the previous version to how the end user are actually navigating in production. And if you click here on each of these changes, you can clearly see the pieces of the flow that have changed. In this case, the complete purchase with of Apple cell phone with custom options, the piece that changed was actually going from the product category page to the product detail page, and you can dive further into it and further refine it. The view about page, you see there's a change here as well, and so on and so forth. So this is something that is really actionable, because now you're clearly seeing the gaps in your test coverage when you compare to what users are actually doing in production. And then you can basically say, okay, bridge me the gap. So you see here, generate test cases to close the gap. You just click here, it generates all those tests that are missing, or it updates the tests that have been impacted. They still have to exist, but maybe, like I said, there's a new element on the page that did not exist before. So this is AI at its finest in the sense that it's actually giving you the level of confidence in how reliable the application actually is as you put your application out to production. One last thing I'll mention, and I'll pause for Shiladitya and Richie here, is all of these things that TrueTest is capturing, all those interactions that I mentioned on the screen here, right, of my application, all these, I'm hovering, I'm clicking, I'm typing, all those interactions that are captured are obviously privacy and security is top priority for us. So all of the PII data, all PHI data, and any data that you as a customer deem sensitive to your organization or to your users, all of that gets filtered out directly at the user's browser. Meaning, if I'm here and I'm, like as part of my checkout process, I'm providing my email, my phone, my address, right? All those things get filtered out here in the browser and are never sent out of this browser to the Katalon cloud for processing by TrueTest. So, and you have full control. There are the automated exclusions that I mentioned, like PII, PHI, that's all automated, but you can add your own additional configurations to say, hey, let's say shopping cart is a label, but let's say this label is very sensitive to your organization or to your end user, and you don't want TrueTest to ever see that. We will not see it. It will not be sent. It will be filtered out here in the browser, does not get sent to our cloud for processing. I just wanted to mention that because I know, especially with AI, security is a top priority, or should be a top priority, and for Katalon, it certainly is. So let me make a pause here, and I'll transition back to you, Shiladitya and Richie, see if you guys have any additional observations, or if we want to take some questions, just let me know.
I just
I
have
think
only
we're-
one observations. Just
Sorry,
only
go ahead,
one observations. Whatever you showed us, it as a QA profession, it makes me look like this is the platform that makes the product team my best friend, because they would also be very interested to know these insights. So we'd
Absolutely.
be looking at the same data and speaking the same language. Wonderful.
That's a great point, and thank you for bringing that up, Shiladitya, because many of our customers arrived at that conclusion. So, like, you really picked up really quick on that, because as they were looking at these journey maps and their development counterparts and the product owners, I mean, they're all working together, and as they were saying, hey, to the testing guys, like, hey, what are you guys looking at? Like, what is that? And then they start explaining, and then the product owner actually said, well, this particular flow, like, I never intended it to be highly used like it's being used, or I never intended for the person to achieve that end goal, let's say purchase a product by going through this flow. I wanted them to go through this other flow, right? So I need to do something in the user stories for the next sprint to make sure that they don't do that anymore, or if it's actually better than what the PO thought about, let me double down on it. Let me eliminate the original flow I created in the next sprint, and make sure I incentivize more people to do that. So you're absolutely right, Shiladitya. This became, or is becoming, a collaboration tool across the entire Scrum team, right, or the squad, depending on your team. It's a great point.
Yep. Sorry, Richie, you was about to say something.
Yeah. No, just we heard a lot of great insights today. I think we have about 10 minutes left. Let's maybe take some questions from the audience. If you have any questions, drop them in the chat. We'll redirect them. I see some coming in now. The first one is how's the journey map created, based on the different tests created, or based on live monitoring of the production pages? Maybe this is a question for Alex. You're on mute, Alex.
Oh, sorry, guys. So it's based on live monitoring. So if when TrueTest is deployed to your application, whether it's in your production environment or your test environment, or whatever environment, because you can deploy TrueTest in any environment, right? Then the journey map is created based on the actual interactions with the application. So if you, as a person, you are in production and you are going shopping or doing something, all of that's being generated. If you are a tester and TrueTest is deployed in your QA environment and you are doing your testing, let's say you're doing manual testing, guess what happens? That journey map here now becomes a reflection of your test, your manual test that you ran, right? So, and what, like I'm kind of leading the witness here, right? What happens next, right? If you are a manual tester, after you have the journey map created that represents your task that you ran, let's say for the day or for the last 2 hours, you can choose, right? The interval, the time interval. You can simply come in here and say, okay, I ran my test. This clearly I can see it's the test, one of the tests that I ran. Well, let me pick another one. And let's say clearly is the test that I ran. And I see, oh, look, I can generate a test. I can just click on generate and it automatically, or it will automatically generate an automated test that reflects my manual test that I ran, I don't know, an hour ago, 2 hours ago, beginning of my day, whatever. So you as a manual tester, you have been able now to visualize all of your manual testing activities here in the map. And you don't need to stop there. You can come in here, or a colleague of yours, right, can come in here and generate the automated test for that period of time that you ran your manual test. What does that mean? If you're in a sprint, you got the code into the QA environment this morning. You're running your manual tests now. You ran it, took you maybe a couple of hours. At the end of those 2 hours, you can generate the automated test of the manual test that you just created. By the end of the day, you have your new feature that you just manually tested. If you need to regression test it again, or if you want to integrate that automated test into the PR process for your developer, or into your CI/CD for, I don't know, an overnight regression run, inside the sprint, not after the sprint, inside the same sprint, now you can run those tests in an automated fashion, or your CI/CD can run that in an automated fashion, just like that. So if you're planning to do in-sprint test automation, really shift left, right, as much as you can. TrueTest helps you achieve that as well if you implement it in your QA environment, as an example. So thanks for the question. You also asked, or is the journey map, is it generated based on live interactions or tests? I just went through the live interaction case, but if you have Selenium scripts, if you have Cypress scripts, if you have Playwright scripts, or any other commercial automation solution that has automated tests, and you run those automated tests against that application in the QA environment, for example, that has TrueTest implemented, guess what happens? You see a user journey map that represents what those automated tests did on the application, what they clicked on, what they typed, what they hovered on, right? All those normal interactions that any of these automation tools and frameworks have. TrueTest captures all of those. So a lot of our customers, what they did and are doing is, some of them tried Selenium for a couple of years, or Cypress or whatever, didn't work for different reasons. They're migrating all of those automated tests into the Katalon platform so that they can enjoy this automated AI-powered maintenance in your QA environment, and then extending that use case to production for the end user perspective as well. So that's something, additional use cases for the use of TrueTest that our customers have been achieving a lot of value, and all contributing to achieving that reliability of the application. So hopefully that answers the question.
Alex, I think, would it be, just to add to that, from a use case perspective, if you have a business group UAT team running their test, and you compare say your Selenium-based regression, which also creates a model, you can then do a variance test, right? You say, hey, what's my coverage gap in my QA environment with my existing testing framework, and then how good is it really compared to the production or the UAT models? And then this tool can help bridge some of that gap as well. Is that correct?
Absolutely. That's a great use case, Richie. And something that, and it's funny because, like, when we originally designed and built out TrueTest in beta, and our customers, our beta customers at the time, this was 2 years ago, year and a half, they started using TrueTest for that production, use case. They started saying, hey, we can use this in QA, we can use this in staging, we can use this in UAT, like you were saying. And all these new use cases started emerging, leveraging the same technology, the same AI power that is inherent of TrueTest. So yeah, I mean, I think the possibilities are limited in terms of are unlimited in terms of use cases, and we keep learning more and more as our customers, are sharing with us. So that's a great one that you just went through.
Yeah, I think the more explicitly, or maybe you covered it earlier already. One of the other use case that I'm thinking about is if you have a legacy automation framework that's no longer investing, right? Sorry to our friends in Quality Center and those guys. If they're no longer innovating in their platform, and you have a whole bunch of legacy scripts that you're still using, but you want to know what you want to get into the AI platform business, this running that script and generating the Katalon test scripts, aren't they just migrated at this point? Katalon is now available to them, right? Because you'll now generate the new scripts based on these models. Am I thinking about that correctly?
That's perfect. Yeah, because especially when let's say a partner, right, like a systems integrator, QualityKiosk is one of our great is our actually launch partner for TrueTest. One of the use cases is exactly that, as as they start working with a new team, and maybe they already have a certain library of automated tests. Having what you just said, TrueTest monitoring an execution of the existing set of automated tests, and then at the end of that execution, those tests are migrated to Katalon, right, to the Katalon platform. Then moving forward, you have AI now maintaining those tests. It's also monitoring your production environment if you want to. It's monitoring your test environment. Could even monitor your dev environment if you want to. And then everything in that life cycle now from a Katalon platform perspective is fully automated through AI, and AI doing the heavy lifting, the maintenance, and kind of bringing test automation to in sprint, right, in a seamless way. So yes, if many of our customers have done exactly that as they purchase Katalon. They were trying to move away from more legacy tooling, like you were saying, and before it was very daunting to say, hey, I invested 2 years on this automation framework, open source, right, or commercial, whatever. And so it's a lot of hours that I put in there, a lot of money, like I don't want to, and then now putting more money to migrate by hand into a new automation platform. The ROI is just not there, right? Like it's a very common, difficult decision that companies have to do. But with TrueTest, that kind of changes the dynamics. Like, no, like nobody's going to touch the scripts, add tags to the script, or like do any massaging on the scripts. Just run them as you always do. Let your CI/CD run. Instrument TrueTest in your QA environment where you run those automated tests from, let's say, Selenium, and at the end of the execution, they are now Katalon tests. That's it.
That's
right?
amazing.
Yeah.
In
I
fact,
think one more thing. Sorry, Sheila. I think a lot of the when we started the automation journey, a lot of folks built a custom internal frameworks, and then the overhead of maintaining your tool stack in-house. Not everybody has that capability or funding or capacity to do this. Those guys would be perfect for some of this as well, right? Like you can get we all know internal tools. A lot of the challenges, they can't keep up with the advancements of commercial tools like Katalon. That's probably a good way for them to upgrade to Katalon as well, right?
Absolutely. That's a great point, because when and I ran a team like that way back when, right? the Ultimately what teams find out is that they have to have dedicated staff to maintaining that framework as a product. But guess what? That team and that company, they're not product management companies, right? They don't build product for a living. they quickly learn that the costs keep increasing. Like it's not something that's sustainable from a business perspective for a long time. So, you know, handing that job over to a company that does that for a living, you know, is always the ROI is much better, because then you get to influence the roadmap. You get to become a partner of that, you know, vendor, and working with your services partner together, like the three-legged stool, right? Is something that really helps the customer. It helps the product company, helps the services partner, everybody working together towards achieving that reliability with minimal, you know, while minimizing the cost for operating their QA shop.
Right. And I think one of the elements that when we do work with customers in terms of building their QA roadmap is to keep things simple and keep things very transparent. And I think this, whatever you've shown us in the last half an hour or so, it's purely aligning it. It's simple and it's keeping things very transparent so that you can really design the roadmap for reliability ahead. So I think kudos to it. So I see that we are on the hour. Just wanted to do a time check on that, but I think it's really, really wonderful in terms of what we had to see today. I think fantastic job.
Well, we didn't get to all the questions. I think we can probably take this off, some of the questions offline. We'll capture the questions and get back to you guys. I want to thank our two presenters here, and thank again for everybody for joining us today. I hope this was informative and helpful for your QA journey, transformation journey. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Richard. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Alex.
Thanks, Shiladitya. Thank you, Richie. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.